Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is blocking an advanced placement African American studies course from being taught in Florida high schools. In response to the move, the civil rights attorney Ben Crump announcing his plans to sue if the decision is upheld.
It is a big talker. Let's bring in Fedrick Ingram, Secretary Treasurer of the American Federation of Teachers, which represents around 1.7 million teachers nationwide, and ABC News contributor LZ Granderson. Welcome to the both of you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
All right, Fedrick, we'll start with you. During yesterday's press conference, you said sometimes in America our history is good, bad, and ugly, but all of it needs to be taught. You also called on Governor DeSantis to let teachers do their job. As a former Florida public school teacher yourself, what concerns you the most about the blocking of this class?
Well, what concerns me really, and first of all, DeMarco, thank you for having me. You know, this is not step one for this governor. This is probably step 5 in a grander scheme of things, because this is hoisting political ideology into our classrooms and into our schools. We should trust our teachers to do the right things, and this governor is trying to run our classrooms and schools from the governor's mansion. This is a governor who has banned books in the state of Florida. This is a governor who has tried to heavy hand our school boards. This is a governor who is telling teachers, and they are scared and they're afraid of him and the Department of Education, because he will not allow them or is trying to stop them from organizing, trying to stop them from saying the truth. And this is ultimately going to hurt our kids. It's going to hurt the Black community, and it's going to hurt those students who would take this class as an option to explore the good, bad, and ugly of our history, which makes them better students and better adults for society.
LZ, let's bring you in. AP classes are, of course, college-level courses. At this level, students there are expected to take difficult information, sometimes from perspectives they don't even necessarily agree with, and then think critically about it. When we see these larger political controversies playing out in the classroom, how does this really impact the students?
Well, let's look back a couple of years, right? So shortly after the murder of George Floyd, you began noticing people, companies, individuals, well-educated individuals talk about Juneteenth all of a sudden as if they had just discovered it. And a lot of people, if you go back, they question, why didn't I hear of this before? Why didn't I know this before? Well, because of governors like Ron DeSantis, that's why. Making sure that this information isn't available for people to understand our history. So how this impacts students is reflective in terms of how it impacts adults. Think about all the adults that have never heard of the Tulsa Massacre. Why? Well, it wasn't being taught. And we didn't discover those two examples until after the assassination of George Floyd. So the classes that he's trying to ban are just additional courses, not to indoctrinate students, but to inform students. So as they continue to grow, they have a better understanding of not just our history, but why we have our present as well.
Fedrick, this AP African American Studies course is currently being tested in a small number of schools across the country. Can you tell us about its curriculum as it currently stands and why you believe it's important?
Sure. Well, there are 4 frameworks that make up the AP course. It's the origin of the African diaspora, it's freedom and enslavement and resistance, the practice of freedom, and the movements and debates. And what we're simply asking this governor is, what are you afraid of? We want to teach honest history. We want to teach a complete history, and that is inclusive of African American studies. And so there is nothing in this that is going to hurt America, that is going to hurt our kids. We're not indoctrinating anybody. In fact, we believe that he is trying to indoctrinate folks with limiting the amount of classes or the options of classes that our kids can take.
And earlier this week, Governor DeSantis did defend his decision to block the course. So take a listen to what he had to say.
This course on Black history, what's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. Now, who would say that an important part of Black history is queer theory? That is somebody pushing an agenda on our kids.
LZ, what is your response to that?
He's just showcasing his ignorance. He is showcasing, and I don't mean that as an insult, but anyone who understands our history knows that the March on Washington was organized by an openly gay man. Anyone who understands our history knows that the Harlem Renaissance featured many queer artists who helped push forward civil rights conversations, like Langston Hughes, like James Baldwin, like Lorraine Hansberry. Anyone who understands our history knows that queer presence was present at the very beginning of jazz music. The Take the A Train was helped composed with Duke Ellington by an openly gay man. Blues, Ma Rainey. There are so many examples of queer presence intermingled and part of the larger African-American culture that for the governor to say that all he is doing is showcasing how little he knows about the country and also indirectly emphasizing the importance of this course.
All right, Secretary-Treasurer of the American Federation of Teachers, Fedrick Ingram, and ABC News contributor and Los Angeles Times columnist LZ Granderson, thanks to the both of you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.